social media, what have you. And Derek Brunson has been going in at Israel Adesanya, and Israel Adesanya has been going right back at Derek Brunson. Then those two met at the press conference, went back and forth at each other again, and they have not stopped jawing since then. Israel Adesanya was asked if he would step in for the Weidman fight, and he turned that down because he said that Derek Brunson deserved this beating, and it was something that he had to do to him. So that is definitely a fight that I am looking forward to, and that is going to be kicking off UFC 230's main card that night, and that is main pay-per-view card. Another one that I'm looking forward to is David Branch got a new opponent. He was supposed to be taking Jacare on this night, but David Branch is now going to be facing Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier is a fighter that I'm very high on. He's a 205-pound fighter now. He's going to be dropping down to 185. I believe this is a middleweight fight. I think it's a great division for Jared Cannonier. He's a little small for 205. I think 185 is a better fit for him. And the dude's got hands. I mean, he's got one hell of a fucking leg reach and reach. I mean, it's not as big as David Branch, but still, the fact that he's got just as big as a fucking reach as Jacare, somebody like him. And I mean, it's just going to be a great, extraordinary fight. And I really feel like if Jordan Cannonier can have the performance that I think he's going to have, he's going to take out David Branch and then welcome himself into this 185-pound division with a bang. Now, the co-main event of this night was supposed to be Nate Diaz returning to fight Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier ended up getting injured a couple of weeks back, and then it was Chris Weidman going to be taking on Luke Rockhold in the co-main event. And from there, that didn't take place either. So Chris Weidman is officially going to be in the co-main event against Jacare Souza. Now, Luke Rockhold had to withdraw from the co-main event due to multiple injuries. He didn't exactly go into detail about those injuries, but we now have Jacare versus Chris Weidman, and that's going to be a fantastic matchup between some very good middleweights. Chris Weidman is up there vying for a title shot. If he can take out Jacare, then, I mean, he's pretty much solidified himself as that number one contender. But then also on the flip side, if Jacare can, I mean, I hate to call this an upset, but I guess it would be considered an upset. If Jacare can upset Chris Weidman and take him out, I mean, shit, maybe he's the next in line for the 185-pound title. We all know that right now there's obviously the Ultimate Fighter going on, and that's Calvin Gastelum versus Robert Whittaker. And after these two get done with the Ultimate Fighter, and after Robert Whittaker is cleared to fight, these two are going to have a middleweight title fight. What they're stating is that the number one contender for this middleweight title is going to be picked out of this card. Now, it could be Israel Adesanya and what he does to Derek Brunson. It could be vice versa. It could be Chris Weidman. It could be, I mean, anyone. Any one of these six middleweights could have a very stellar performance, and they could very well be the number one contender in line right after Robert Whittaker takes care of business with Calvin Gastelum, and they would take, obviously, on whoever wins that fight. Now, the main event for UFC 230 is Daniel Cormier versus Derek Lewis. Now, this was just thrown together. Obviously, we just talked a couple weeks ago about Derek Lewis beating Alexander Volkov. And, I mean, shit, it's like we went to bed after that and we blinked and he was in the fucking main event for UFC 230. Coming right back 30 days later trying to take out the heavyweight champion of the world, the two-division champ as of right now. But, I mean, hey, that's going to change, obviously, in December. But as of right now, he's a two-division champ. See, that's an interesting topic. Now that I think about this, what happens if Derek Lewis does beat Daniel Cormier? Does he give up that light heavyweight title still in December, or does he hold on to it? I guess that's a great fucking topic to bring up if something does happen between the two of them. And Derek Lewis does somehow take out Daniel Cormier. And it's not even a far-fetched idea. Derek Lewis has very, very, very fucking good hands, and he can take anyone out in that division with that knockout power that he has in his left and his right hand. The thing about it is he's going to get too tired from the wrestling that DC is going to give to him. He's just going to wrestle fuck the shit out of Derek Lewis. I feel like if he's going to take Derek Lewis for a ride for 5 rounds until Derek Lewis possibly gives up that back and then gets tapped out by DC. I kind of feel like if we see DC finishing this fight, it's going to be like a rear naked choke type situation or something on the ground after he's got down and pummeled Derek Lewis for 3 to 4 or 5 rounds. We all know Derek Lewis' cardio isn't the best in the world. We all know what he's coming in with. But that heart that he has is just so fucking, it's there. And you can't sit there and say that it's not a thing and it's not a factor, because he, with an absolutely empty gas tank, with 20 or 30 seconds left in the fight, after losing the entire thing, took out a game Alexander Volkov in the third round. And it was over like that. One punch, he went to the ground and he just followed it up, and Volkov went to sleep. The very same thing could easily happen to Daniel Cormier. I mean, DC's wrestling is great, and he's going to try to establish his wrestling and be very dominant with his wrestling pedigree. But all it takes is one shot from Derek Lewis, and you're done. So if you are going to sit in there and try to wrestle him for 5 rounds, which I don't think DC will do, I think he will go in there looking to finish him. But if you go in there and try to wrestle him for 5 rounds, I think that is a very bad strategy, because, like I said, Derek Lewis can take you out at any time. And we're going to see what's going to happen at the main event at Madison Square Garden this Saturday, November 6th. But like I said, the biggest question is, if Derek Lewis wins, what happens to that light heavyweight title come December? Does DC give it up, or does DC try to he wouldn't turn around and fight, obviously, that's out of the question, but would he maybe make it an interim title for the UFC 232 main event, and then they eventually meet DC and the winner of that for the UFC's light heavyweight title? I don't know. It's a lot of questions to be answered, but I guess we'll figure out a lot of the answers on Saturday night when DC and Daniel Cormier finally meet in the octagon for the main event at UFC 230. It's going to be good. I mean, I know they kind of threw this together, but I really feel like it's kind of, and they have a weird, strange buildup of this whole thing. Like, they have the UFC 226 press conference where Derek Lewis was kind of sizing DC up and saying, hey, if you win that title, you could be fighting me and I'll knock you out. And there's that funny go back and forth between the two of them where DC says, you don't want to hit me. And Derek Lewis says, I'll hit anyone for money. He'll hit anyone for money. Derek Lewis is honestly the funniest person in mixed martial arts. I mean, obviously, you've seen what happened after the UFC 226. He had to take a short talk because his balls were hot. I mean, that's just Derek Lewis to do his fucking comedy. And he told DC that he was mad at him for what he did to the Popeyes chicken on that commercial. Just shit like that. I mean, Derek Lewis, how do you not love this dude? I mean, straight out of H-Town. Holler at H-Town. How y'all doing? But it's crazy. Derek Lewis has an opportunity to become the heavyweight champion of the world here this Saturday. And I wouldn't... If you would have told me last month, before we got started with UFC 229, that Derek Lewis is going to be fighting at 230 in the main event, I'd have told you you're fucking crazy. His cardio would not hold up in the fights. But, I mean, he's doing it. He's doing the damn thing. He's got the heart of a lion, and he could very easily be walking out of Madison Square Garden on Saturday night as the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Now that we've fully got into UFC 230, on the line here in a second, I'm going to have Josh Emmett. Obviously, Josh has been out for a minute. Well, I want to get into that with him and see what he's been up to. And at this time, I have the current number 8 ranked featherweight contender in the UFC, Josh Emmett. Josh, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking time out of your day for us today.
Yeah, anytime.
So, what has Josh Emmett been up to? I know you've been away from the UFC since February is your last time you fought. What's new with you, and what have you been up to? Just recovering?
Yeah, for the most part. It's it's been a crazy year. This is definitely the longest it's been as far as me not fighting, like being inactive. But I was also able to do a lot of things that, I may not have been able to do if I was right back into another fight camp. I got to go on a few trips. And I took, for my mom's 65th birthday, my wife and I took my mom and our in-laws to Maui.
Nice.
And then my wife and I bought a house.
Oh.
I got to go compete in this submission grappling match in Moscow. So I did that. It was awesome. It was, for me, it was kind of a way just to kind of test the waters, see how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was in Maui, I got a message from a promoter, and he was seeing if I wanted to compete in this ACB jiu-jitsu match. And I thought about it. At that point, I wasn't 100% by no means. I wasn't feeling that well. I wasn't even cleared to like do physical activity yet. But I thought, man, since my wife and I were getting the house, I was like, I felt like kind of like, I should probably do this just for, a down payment to make a little bit of cash. So I decided to do that, and then got back, and I trained just light with my jiu-jitsu coach for about 3 weeks, just going over technique. We didn't go live at all. And then I figured I'll just kind of save it for the match. And I flew out to Moscow. We were there for a week, and it was a cool experience. I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. I was going to Russia to compete against one of their guys, and I know I had to come out and get a submission or decisively win, and that wasn't the case. I feel like I kind of got hometown there, but I knew what I was getting myself into. But I still had a great experience. It was still a fun time.
So although you've been away from the UFC, you've been very, very busy.
Yeah, very busy. And then now, like I said, I've been helping one of my buddies just with some extra. The guy's so busy, so he's having me just, help him and do certain things. And it's kind of neat, just so I can make some extra cash and I can stay busy. But I have been getting, I was getting back into training just light, still filling things out. I've been doing physical therapy the whole time. I was working with a vestibular therapist as well, just because I was having some symptoms of just being dizzy, my like the inner ear, my balance, all that stuff was kind of off still. So I've been doing a lot with that. And then I had hand surgery like 6 weeks ago. So I did that and back on physical therapy for my hand now, and just a ton of things, but everything's kind of coming together. I feel good now. I just can't wait till I can get back to practices, and I think I'm actually going to start easing back into that next week. Just doing what I can. I still can't like wrestle and grapple because of the surgery I just had, but the surgeon said I was able to go ahead and start striking, and so I've been lightly doing that with my boxing coach and Muay Thai coach, and just testing that out as well.
Now, you had mentioned something about dizziness. Was that from results of your last fight?
Yeah.
Due to the illegal knee?
Yeah, it was definitely from the fight. I don't know about the knee. It was just even though that was like a illegal throw, or an illegal strike. There's a few strikes that were illegal, but it was still, it's a fight. Like that didn't bother me. Like, I know I'm on the ground, I'm moving around, I'm getting elbowed in the back of the head here and there, but I'm not going to like stop and look at the ref and be like, hey man, that's illegal. I'm trying to just get up and then, give it back to him. So that and the knee, it grazed me. It wasn't like a hard blow, but even though it was illegal, there's rules set in place for a reason.
Totally. Yeah.
That didn't really, it was really just the last two elbows, that kind of put me out and, caused some fractures in my face. So I think that's kind of what it's really from. But yeah, so I had a long, I don't know, it was just a tough year. Like even after that was a hard pill to swallow. I'm doing well in the first, and then there's things looking back at the fight I wish I would have done different. But you learn. So I definitely learned from the mistakes that I didn't capitalize on. When I hurt him and dropped him in the first round, I was thinking, oh man, it's 5-round fight. Let's go ahead and like conserve some energy because it's the first round. But looking back at it, next time I'll just go in for the kill. I'm always in great shape. I knew I was. I don't know why I hesitated to go for the finish, or I do know why. It's because it was a 5-round fight, and I just didn't want to gas out. But I've never gassed before, and I know I wouldn't have there. But so that's okay. But yeah, I was having some bad case of vertigo for a few months. I'd wake up, the room's spinning, just dizzy, nauseous, balance all messed up. But it's definitely getting better now.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Do you have a timetable for a return, or is it